Kim Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. And we're back with Kyl Cobb here on Paranormal Experience Radio. Kyl, when we were talking about the areas that you have gone and just spent time in, when I brought up Romy talking about the skeletal remains that are just laying everywhere, the reason I brought that up and I got sidetracked was to ask you, with all the time that you've spent there, have you had any type of paranormal experiences that kind of took you aback or were very obvious in those areas?
Yeah, in Egypt, one of the things that happened is I mentioned before that sometimes I knew who to bribe and how much to bribe to get into places I shouldn't. There's a place south of Cairo called Saqqara, and that has a lot of little small pyramids and a lot of tombs. And since I was in a tomb in Saqqara, I went down the shaft to go into it. It was a small pyramid, and I spent about 2 hours down there reading the hieroglyphs, telling the story of this. He was a minor pharaoh, and so I was reading his information. And when I decided to come back up, the shaft itself that gets you down there is at about a 34 to 45 degree angle. Brutal to climb. I was about halfway up, and I felt like a knife was stabbed in me. And I literally slid all the way down to the bottom of the shaft. By the time I got back up, I was sweating, just dying. It felt horrible. Amazingly, the minute the plane took off from Egypt, I was better. Another instance of just amazing paranormally type stuff. I had the privilege of being invited by the modern Maya to the sun death ritual, which is performed on the solstice of each year. And part of the ritual, the day before it's sunset, they begin building this altar. It's 3 concentric circles made of flower and fruit, and they build these elaborate, amazing designs in the outer ring. But the idea is at sunrise on the day of the solstice, they have a volunteer that invites a demon to slide into them and take control of them. And the volunteer...
Well, that does not seem like a good idea.
Well, a lot of societies actually do that. They believe it pays a debt to keep the demon from doing negative things throughout the year.
Okay.
And the transformation that happened to this guy probably was 18 or 19, average Joe. When the demon is asked to come into them, physically, he changes. And it's hard for me to even describe. Muscles contort. He is not the same person. And for 12 hours straight in this center circle, he is basically in kind of a dance, for lack of a better term. And other people will go in and out of these circles with the shaman acting to purify and cleanse them as they go in and out, to keep anything out, keep anything that should be out, and anything that should be in.
Right.
But for 12 hours, this guy performs athletic feats that Olympic athletes wouldn't be able to handle for short periods of time. And this guy does it for 12 hours. As the sun sets and the shaman clears the outer circles and moves in to eventually release the demon, when he does the part of the ritual to get the demon to let go, the host becomes like jelly. He collapses. He can't move. He can barely talk. And to this day, that is one of the most amazing experiences when you're at a holy site that I've ever encountered. the voluntary possessions just are mind-boggling. And so, there are lots of other cases where I've been at places and things have happened, but those are two of the highlights, I guess.
That is just really bizarre. I've never heard of someone voluntarily relinquishing control like that.
Yeah, it's really not that infrequent. As you start studying the concept of demons around the world, there are actually a lot of rituals where that's part of the payment. In the Eastern world in particular, they believe that it gives them good karma. But, it's pretty much half the world kind of practices that way.
I just find that amazing. I am not versed in very many different religions. I'm researching and I'm learning as I go, but I'm not that knowledgeable yet. My sister-in-law is a Tibetan Buddhist.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, she's not Tibetan, but her faith is. It is astounding the difference that you find in the outcome of faiths in different religions. Some things keep you kind of jazzed up and full of the spirit, I guess, would be a term, and everything's all got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, and it's all works-based. Then you have people who are different. We had a guest on one of the shows last night that was very pleasure-based and sorcery and stuff, and that's not something I know much about at all. Then, I know about pleasure, but I don't know about that as my faith. And then you have the true Tibetan monks who are just, it's like they're in a whole nother plane of existence. And it's not necessarily just calming. It's not just the chanting and stuff like that, although I'm sure that helps in the meditation. But it's like a whole different side of a human psyche that gets brought out with that. Have you experienced that with a lot of different religions?
Absolutely. Most religions have fundamental core values that are similar in some ways, but some of them, the more devout members of a lot of different religions also have different aspects of their existence that in a lot of ways would be strange to us in the West. But, even in the Western tradition, you get devout people that make a difference. They find their own bliss in their religion in different ways, and that gives them insight. Somebody simple as Mother Teresa. She believed in what she did and, lived a wonderful, wonderful life. You have the nuns in the Catholic tradition, Fatima, that believe that they received some inspiration. So I believe there's all sorts of different religions that have the potential to open doors that we just don't understand. I was lucky, talking about the Buddhist tradition. I have a friend of mine that's very much into the Buddhist tradition, and I had time to spend opportunity to spend time with her, learning as well as the monks that were around her, and it's an amazing opportunity to learn that there's so much more to reality sometimes than we presume that there is.
I just love the tranquility. I think that if it's your faith, if it's something that you're going to live day to day, that it should bring you that tranquility. Whether it's in Christianity, your relationship, because I think Christianity is completely relationship based, or you know, the different other religions that just seem so internally centered.
Well,
It's just cool. I mean, I think it's just a neat thing to see the different physiological behavior pattern kind of things that are different. I like that.
yeah, and part of it though, from all my different studies, fundamentally religions break into three or four categories. Most of our modern religions are what are referred to as death cults. Even Christianity falls in that.
Mm-hmm.
It means that by definition, part of the religion centers on life after death in some way,
Yes.
shape, or just the opposite, that there is no life after death, depending on which religion you're talking about. And so those religions offer the tranquility in the promise of the post-life existence. And then you have a lot of the religions that look at it a little differently. They are more, well, you use the example, for instance, of more pleasure-based, more pleasure-centered, because part of that, indirectly, you could say, is because they don't believe there is anything afterwards.
Yes.
So, religion's a funny thing. And the old, I think it was Stalinist quote, religion is the barbiturate of the people.
Yes.
Everybody has the potential to find both joy as well as stress in religions.
You're right. And that being said, we are so close to out of time. We've got about 3 minutes, and I want you to let people know how to find you. The people in chat have all your links.
Yeah. The best way to find me is the website, www.last, L-A-S-T, gasp, G-A-S-P-S, just like your last breath.com. Also, I'm at a lot of the different paranormal conventions speaking. I do a lot of events with my friends at Ghost Hunt Weekends. So I'm doing the Thomas House. We're going to do the Bell Witch, The Truth of the Bell Witch, which is one of my books. We're going to do some lectures on the Bell Witch along with my friends, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers, up in the Thomas House in Tennessee, doing that in March. But I'm around all the time. But I jokingly say, you don't want to be one of my clients, because if you're one of my clients, you made some really bad life choices.
True. That's true. But if you have a situation that is not from your bad life choices, then you're welcome to reach out to him and he'll help you anyway. Or still. Or whatever the terminology is. He will save you if it's possible. I love that Superman is one of your heroes. He's one of my heroes too.
Somebody's got to promise the hope, and it's just one of those things. I grew up with that as a role model. I'm Don Quixote, though. I tilt with windmills when no one else sees the monsters in them.
I love that reference. Thank you for bringing that to the fore. My dad used to tell me I was always tilting at windmills. And I never knew what it meant until I was about 22, 23, and read the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, there I am. But, I have enjoyed you so much. Thank you. And with your knowledge, we've probably got another couple of shows at least. Maybe we'll try to schedule another one soon. Make up for lost time.
Anytime.
But I know you're about to hit your busy season, so we'll make it work. So
every day's my season.
I know, right? And that being said, I want to thank everybody who's listening and who has enjoyed this show. I know that if you're listening, you did, because Kyl has been a great guest. And we will be back. Let's see. Tomorrow is going to be Periscope Uncensored with Clarissa and Jax, and they're actually going to be in the same room for once, so we'll see how that works out. It's going to be awesome.